County Choir YouTube viewers, I'm pleased to have a third interview now with our trust board, who are now the board of our fan zone club, and I think this is the first interview we're having as a fan zone club now.
Yeah,
I think the last one was while we were about to hit our mark. So well, I'll just dive straight into it, shall I?
Why not?
Okay, so how's the transition been from interim board to being the actual board of directors, and how involved are all of you on the actual day-to-day running of the club?
Well, I'll kick off if everybody's happy. The transition as such probably hasn't changed a great deal in essence. I guess the biggest change has been the fact that we're now more involved in making those day-to-day decisions. Historically, I think a lot of stuff was going back to Les, although we were there as an interim board. In terms of the day-to-day running, that's why we employ Jason and his staff, and we work very closely with him. We probably speak to him most days, email him most days, and we have a board meeting once a month, and he provides a great update as to what the club has been doing. We've agreed a framework with him to operate within as well, and so far it's working quite well. I mean, it takes a while to get the relationship there and get the trust in there, and find out the way that we work, the way that Jason works and others work. But to date, my view is that it's working in quite well for us.
I think Jason's adopted a very professional system, and certainly with every meeting we go to a board meeting, I've got to be nothing but impressed by the documentation that he brings along.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And also Nick Igo, our FD, he's at every monthly board meeting to give his input, and he is a very good FD. I think we'll all,
he's an impressive,
very
he's an impressive
experienced. He's sort of forecasting well in advance of anything that could be a problem. It's very
the only
difficult.
downside is he does support West Ham.
Yeah.
So we've had to.
We told him to keep quiet about that.
Yeah, if he could.
He's
Quite a lot
getting
of County
better.
fans like West Ham minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll let him know. We'll let him
Next
know.
question.
Yeah, right. Let's move on then. When did you know you wanted to remove Terry Butcher, and did you consider the expected compensation?
I think
Simon, that's one for Simon.
Yeah. if I'm being honest, we talked about it and set a target, and that target wasn't reached. And we'd always, between us, agreed that we would wait for that time, and give him a chance.
A couple of weeks before the actual the club raised the money, we had great concerns about, like every other supporter, his appointment, the way he was appointed, and the way he sort of stripped out the original team and then brought in. We were a bit concerned about his comments about the budget all the time, which that was always the case. The budget, it never ever changed, so we knew about the consequences of what he was taking on, but he seemed to want to remind us all at all time. I think that probably a couple of weeks before we had our reservations, and a big factor is who is available at the time.
Of course.
Because I think you've got to look at at who's available, what experience they've got, certainly at League 2 level, and it was a very bold move.
And I think as well, John, as you know, I mean, I think as we said last time when we chatted, it's a results game, and the table spoke for itself, and the point spoke for itself where we were in the table. We went to Carlisle, and we won 1-0, which was a great result, and I think that lifted the club a little bit to a certain extent. And I think the big thing for us is on that Tuesday game against Crawley, where people were queuing to give us the money, and then the performance, and then and the way that it was conducted, it just wasn't very good. And I think, we knew then the decision that perhaps we needed to make. That said, and as with a lot of decisions that we've made since we've been in, we've reflected on them a little bit, as opposed to making that snap decision straight away when you've got a bit of emotion. around you, and I think it's important that we did that. I mean, I personally believe that it was the right decision to make from a footballing perspective, without a shadow of a doubt. And the fact that, you know, John's just got the side now and beaten in 9. Saturday's performance in quite awful conditions. The whole of Rodney Parade was bouncing in terms of that. I don't think we've heard it as loud over here for a long time as well. It was quite evident the right decision. I think looking at the second part of your question in terms of with the financial side of life, you've got to balance it and weigh it all up. And, you know, we inherited a set of contracts that have been placed by the previous regime. I think, as we said last Friday, that is not something we would have agreed. They were very much in favour of the individuals, not in terms of the club. And what we did, and you would expect us to do, that we basically, with Jason, who was very instrumental in this, he put together a number of options for us so we could understand what the cost would look like in terms of that. I think it's fair to say that we probably didn't expect to get to the lengths that we did with the League Managers Association, in terms of them not moving from their contractual perspective, although, to be fair, I understand that. And we've arrived at the position we have that we relayed last week. And, you know, a club like ours, that's a lot of money. We don't want to really be paying out any money as such. But actually, if you look at it in the rounds from where we are today, and although obviously there's a long way to go to the end of the season, but if we stay up, then actually it will be money well spent in my mind.
Yeah, of course.
If I can come in on that, Chris, I think from a football perspective, I drove up here tonight and I heard that Yeovil have pulled the plug on their manager, and they've waited longer to do that. We did it sooner, and I think I read an article from Andrew Penman from over the weekend that he sort of hinted that maybe 10 games was quick to dispense with Butcher. But if you look at Yeovil now, who've, you know, left it another, how many have we played, 18? Something like that.
Another 2 months.
You know, and they've waited, and we're 8 points better off than them, Chris.
Yeah.
You know, that what that says to me, and I'm speaking as somebody that had no hand in the Butcher decision, because at the time I was absolutely immersed in the share. You know, being the accountant, I was absolutely immersed in the share situation. And from my perspective, the fact that Yeovil have hung on and we're 8 points better off than them tells me that it was absolutely the right decision. And I think at the right time, because when we took over, I think we were at a crossroads, a watershed moment, where we actually had to back the guy or sack the guy.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't have, it just, to me, it just doesn't seem right for us to have said, look, you've got another 2-3 games or whatever, and then pulled the trigger. Because to me, that actually, I don't think that reflects well on us. But I look at Yeovil, who waited longer, and I look at York, who I think made a change 3 or 4 games ago.
Yeah.
And if I'm right, their last 2 games they've scored 1, conceded 11 in their last 2 games. And I just wonder, as I say, some people have suggested maybe it was a bit quick. I look at our rivals and think they're too late.
Yeah. Definitely.
As I say, it's a results-driven business. So, you know what I mean? You've got to have the results and the performance. I think the performance on Saturday was,
Fantastic.
that's probably one of the best performances we've had over here for quite some time. You know, and I can see the way John's, you know, managing the players. It's
unbelievable at the moment.
He's doing very well, and his choice of loan players is superb, and but also the younger players are starting to pick up on it and starting to play very well. So, you know, Andrew Hughes coming back is a fantastic. What a player! You know, so I think we probably might have the recipe right. You know what I mean, for a good season, or an entertaining season, shall I say?
Because I'll be honest with myself. I mean, I was one. I wanted Butcher to do well.
Yeah, we all did. We all did.
He seemed like such a lovely bloke and everything.
He is a nice guy.
But then after that Crawley game, I mean, that was it for me. You know, I just sank, and then every game since, even with John at the helm, I've worried for us, and now I'm back in a position where I've got the confidence that I don't think we're going to go down now.
No,
You start enjoying it again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, Chris, I'm going to say this because, and this is not a dig, but I was.
That means it is then.
Yeah.
I was the only one that went up to Accrington, right?
There was a
That's
dig.
a dig, yeah.
And I can absolutely tell you that conditions weren't great up there. It was very wet. Accrington are about as good a football inside, not that I've seen in League Two this season, that I've seen in League Two since we've been in League Two. They are an excellent football inside. And the first half, the game plan was to restrict them, which we were able to do. And second half, I think John thought, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to put Bowden on. And there was the final half hour of the game was an absolutely incredible standard of football, attack versus counter attack. And I walked out of that ground that evening, and Accrington officials and supporters came to me and shook my hand and said, "You guys play fantastic football the right way," and it was a marvellous advert for League Two. And I couldn't have been prouder.
No. Well, I think that's ditto for Oxford as well.
Yeah.
You know, the directors there, they all said exactly the same. You know, what a fantastic advert for League Two. And, you know, Oxford were a very good side.
Yeah.
And very good
Oh,
hard
best
side.
side, yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Very
and for us to go up there and almost beat them, you know what I mean? But, you know, we played the right tactics again, you know what I mean? Sort of hold them and then hit them on the counter.
Because we were on the way home in the car, and their local radio station was on the radio, and we had all their fans saying that Newport played well.
Yeah.
So you know, for such a good team to praise us for the way that we played, especially with how they threw the kitchen sink at us in the second half.
They absolutely did. But
But
I
then-
thought our defenders were outstanding, and particularly Hughes when he had to when Bennett went off, he had to shift from left back to centre back. I thought, you know, the kid looks like he's been playing any position for years.
I think we could all say that if Bennett didn't go off that
I was
night,
gonna
we
say
probably
that.
would have won it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
you're
don't
right.
think they would have got through us
No.
that evening. So, but
If anything, Leonard
But
John
we
Lewis
were-
didn't deserve to be on a losing team after his goal.
no,
It was a great
No,
goal.
crackers,
yeah.
You
Yeah.
won't see much better than that
No.
in the league, will you? So
Yeah.
Anyway, I suppose you guys want to out and get home, so better push on. Yeah, going with the compensation could have been worse than 75k.
Could have been better.
I mean, contractually, it couldn't have been, but it wasn't the amount; it was the profile of the payments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So potentially, it could have been all up front, and that would absolutely have made it worse for us. Because oddly enough, we couldn't afford it. So you know, that was the key thing. That was the crunch moment. And you know, to be fair, and I think we ought to say this, that we are very grateful to the League Managers Association that, you know, we were able to reach a sensible position with them. Otherwise, it was quite evident that, you know, we couldn't afford to pay that.
I won't ask you any more on that then. Are we still operating at the same playing budget as the start of the season? Because obviously there's been a lot of shift around with the players since John Sheridan's taken over. Obviously the younger players have stepped back, obviously the likes of Collins and Tom and Evans, and we've got more experienced players have joined and started playing more often. Does that mean we've increased the playing budget, or have we kept it all within what we started the season with?
It is the same now as it was at the start of the season. Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. So
Yes.
the Regan Pool money, none of that went into the playing budget?
Well, the Regan Pool money went into service a lot of things in essence. One was the working capital for the club, and then it's been used for a whole host of different things. But in terms of direct into the playing fund has pretty much stayed as it was, unless you know any different in terms of that. So it is as it was at the start of the season. I think probably what needs to be said is that the full playing budget was never up to its 100% probably when the others were in charge. So, you know, I don't think they've used that to the full capacity. What John has done with Jason, I think, is perhaps looked at that, moved and shifted a few things around, to see that he gets that full capacity. I mean, you know, as a board, the budget has been set, and John and indeed Jason have got to live within that budget, and so we get, as John has said, we get a monthly report from Nick Igo, and it'll show there exactly what's gone in, what's gone out. But they've got to live within that budget.
Everything's controlled. Everything's controlled.
But the other thing, Chris, is that I think I'd ask people to remember that we didn't set that playing budget, but we're honouring it, and I cannot tell you how difficult it is for us to honour that, because if we'd have set it, I'm pretty sure we'd have set it a bit lower, just for comfort purposes. So we are honouring, you know, the budget that was set by the previous regime, and that's a tough commitment, but we're sticking to it.
Very good. Can you explain what happens with the share scheme now that the fans are owners? I know it has been mentioned that there's been some minor changes with it. I haven't been able to turn up to any meetings since we've taken over, and I know a few fans who might be watching this video haven't, so I'd imagine it'd be a good opportunity for you to share it with myself and them. Then also, have you gathered all of the promised shares from past directors who publicly pledged them? And in that case, if we've managed that, are we at our 90% that we were looking at?
Can I take this? Because I answered this on Friday. At the time of the takeover, we were perceived to have 8% of the shares. That's the supporters trust. And Les's stake was perceived to be 54%. So that would give us 62% on completion of the takeover. However, as treasurer of the supporters trust, I know that we purchased shares last season that we didn't get certificates for. So that prompted me to contact Jason to see if we were the only share purchasers not to have received certificates. So Jason is he's promised to look at that, to look at how many what I call legacy shares, so that's shares before the community shares, to see how many of those certificates hadn't been issued for, because that's important for the proportions of shares that people own. The community share exercise is a bigger exercise than even I anticipated. We have close on 900 individual share purchases, which is a phenomenal number, and I've said this in the past. I can't thank people enough, because as we were going through the share offer, I think there were times through that 5-week period where we had ups and downs, and sometimes we thought we'd make it, and sometimes we were apprehensive about it, and you know, and we were probably. I didn't have any sleepless nights, but I certainly was sweating at times. I did. And but the exercise that I'm carrying out to get those 900 people from getting their money in the bank to putting a share register together to then issuing share certificates is a monstrous job, Chris. And I can tell you that, I mean, I don't go out often anyway, but Nailsy's quite a quiet place. But most evenings I am working on that share register. And I'm on it 2-3 hours an evening. And it's done my relationship wonders, Chris, because we've barely spoken a word to each other.
So you should be thanking us, really.
Yeah, I probably should. But going back to the question...
Tina thanked me, I'm sad.
But going back to the question, to really find out how much we already have and what we need to do to get to the 90%, because that's the ultimate aim, is we need Jason to complete the exercise to issue the legacy shares. I need to complete the exercise to put the share register together, and then we can see, you know, what the pie looks like and how much of the pie individual shareholders have. And then, to me, that's the launch pad for going for the 90%.
Okay.
So I was just going to add, on the question around what's changed, to be a community shared ownership, we had to change the constitution. There was a meeting on that in here, wasn't it, John? In terms of that, John chaired it. That constitution sat on the proposed constitution sat on the website right the way from the share offer documentation, and essentially we had people were able to vote online for it. You could go into the shop and do it as well, and then people voted on the night. And basically, members voted through that new constitution, and probably the most important part of that constitution is the fact that if this club now going forward wants to change from a supporters-owned club, they have to have 75% of the members turn out to vote, and 50% of the members plus have to vote in favour of the change in it. So, that's quite a fundamental part of what we're doing, because that says that this club, if it so wishes, and its members will be in supporters' ownerships until such time as the supporters decide to change that. I think addressing your other point around have we had all the commitments, as you know, one of the previous directors, Howard Greenough, agreed to gift us his shares. To be fair to Howard, he's still happy to honour that commitment. We've got some challenges that we need to go through with that share allocation to make sure we're comfortable with what we're being gifted, and we're undertaking that process at the moment. And we hope that can conclude fairly soon, because as Simon rightly points out, we'd love to get to that 90% point, and so the two things come together quite nicely.
Great. Move on then. Have you begun to lay any foundations for future club philosophies? What I mean by that is, obviously some clubs are renowned for being a community-based club or a family-based club, and obviously some clubs are renowned for having good youth academies. Have you laid any foundations to pull this club into a particular direction?
Sophie?
Well, I was going to say that I think, we are a community-based club. That's what we set out to do. As you saw us earlier on, meeting with Norman Parcell, who's running that community side of life. So very much we want to continue that ethos that Norman has put in place with the team. We want to link that with what the academy does as well. We've got a great academy right the way through into then what the first team is doing. So I think we want to put that community at the heart of what we were doing. That's why we're meeting with Norman tonight, and we've invited him along to the board meeting as well, because we've got to put that at our heart. That's what we said we would do. That's what we're attempting to do. It's early days to a certain extent with quite a few things. I think that the thing that the club does benefit from, though, is the fact that the community section is all very mature already and running in a variety of different areas within what was Gwent, a number of schools, and some of the things that we're relating tonight, right from soccer tots right up to walking football for people of Tony's age. So it's fantastic in a way in terms of that as well. So it kind of all works well.
Yeah, I think another important issue as well that we've invited, we've asked David Hando to resurrect the supporters partnership, which obviously was running before the takeover, and obviously we want to speak to all the parties again to discuss with them, probably in a slightly different way. We'll be more welcoming, and asking them to help in any way they can, get involved. We're getting nothing but positive feedback from all the partners, Chris, with the county choir, that anything, I think everybody feels the same, that we want everybody to feel part of this.
Well, it worked well though, John, didn't it? In the run up to the share issue, I think we had some really good meetings.
The Smile Council, the 100, everybody is really the supporters. David Handel, everybody's really keen to make sure this works, and and I think the fact that we got a handle on the finances of the club there, which is the most important thing. Whereas, probably before, as Nick Igo said at the meeting last week, that probably having a millionaire owner that, Len's done a fantastic job, put an awful lot of money in, but probably decisions were made perhaps when Les was away or whatever, and probably they weren't given enough thought. Whereas they thought, well, if we get it wrong, we just ask Les for some more money, you know. So probably, you know, things were a little bit lax there, and but obviously now with Nick Igo, you know, we're doing our absolute utmost to make sure everything's monitored and under control.
You know, I can envisage the supporters partnership being more beneficial to the club.
Oh, definitely.
Now, because historically, from when it was first formed, it was just, like I say, a slagging match between the board of directors and the fans.
I find it dysfunctional, Chris, when I turned up on behalf of the supporters trust. So you know, so if I get invited to future ones, I would hope it wouldn't be that dysfunctional. But if I can just come back to one point about the supporters groups, is that I felt, and the guys, I don't know what the guys felt at the time, but I felt that if we were to get over the line, that we really had to go out to the supporters groups and get them behind us. And that's why we attributed people to supporters groups, to really get in there and try and win the hearts and minds of the supporters, because essentially it's the supporters that we had to pull together to get this through. And I don't think that stops. I don't see a situation whereby, you know, we went to those supporters groups and asked them for their support, and then we say, thanks, we've had your support, you know, enjoy the game. I don't see that, Chris. You know?
I mean, sorry, John.
I think that obviously the previous regime was so desperate for money at the time that, you know, they were talking to all the supporters groups, but they were only interested unless they're going to give them something.
Yeah.
And you know, well, you were there, Chris. You know, you vouched for that, and anybody that could throw some money in were invited in into the fold, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Wasn't it 48 hours after our first meeting? it was plea for money for Joe.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
But I think, you know, the supporters partnership group and why we've asked David to do it. I mean, you know, David Hando's given an awful lot to the club, president of the club. He ran it before, and we think that's important for him to be, you know, involved in that, and we're grateful that he is prepared to do it. But also the groups that sit there, as I say, when we were in the run up to the shares, some of the ideas, the thoughts, the views that we got were fantastic. You know, and we've got to embrace all that, as we did before the share offer. It's really important that you know, that continues, because, you know, we are a supporter-owned club. We've got community at our heart, so therefore we need to make sure that we're living that out.
I was going to ask actually as well. Obviously, you offered the opportunity for people to fill out volunteer forms to volunteer for the club. Did you have many?
Yeah.
And have you looked at all of them?
Well, Lisa is covering that for us as part of the fan engagement side, and I know that we put it out in one of our newsletters. You know, just bear with us a little bit, because we're trying to get it all into a database that we know who's available when. Because the best thing a volunteer can give is time. And I don't know whether you know this, but actually, when we took over the club, one of the first things that we did, and we gave it on the Saturday, and I think Lisa did this on our behalf, was that we issued a thank you letter to all the volunteers who were in and around the ground, and we feel that respect side of life is important to continue, and we want to make sure that actually happens. I think what we would say to supporters, like all these things, you know, we're volunteers ourselves, like you are, as well, and I think I can understand sometimes when it gets, you know, frustrated when you've given an idea and you don't have somebody come back to you, etc. It's trying to remember that, you know, we're grateful for that idea. We will get back when we can, and if not, there's not a problem in prompting us. But I just think they've tried to, you know, get that balance between the fact that we are volunteers and fans as well, and got day jobs.
It's got to be a lot of process, though. I mean, you imagine
well,
you're getting
Chris. I mean,
angles.
same as the amount of share application forms we had. You know, we were overwhelmed with requests for volunteers as well. And the thing is that, you know, some people, you know, Lisa's going to go through and be able to think, actually, we could use that person straight away. And some people, with more specific skills, you know, we may need them down the line when we reach a part of our strategy where that person actually fits. And I'll give you an example. I had a gentleman get in touch with me who was Newport born, and he's now in London, and he's a company secretary. Now, I'm an accountant, and company secretaries are highly sought after, in particularly with blue chip companies. And I'm hoping that when we get to a position where we can go for the 90% and we're looking for legacy shareholders to give shares to us, I'm hoping I can go to this gentleman, and he can help me with the paperwork, the legalities of getting shares transferred over. And I've looked at the legacy shareholder list, and there's about another 600 people, and sadly some of them are not with us, and that Chris is quite a web. And I'm hoping that, like, this particular individual will be able to help me through that maze, and and help us get those shares across, if that's the wish of people, and help us reach that 90%. But that's just one specific example of someone with a highly sought after skill that we can use, but right now we're not in a position to utilise it. So I guess in a roundabout way, what I'm saying is, if we haven't been in touch with you yet, that's not to say we won't be.
Yeah.
It could be just that this, the timing is down the road.
I'd imagine once we get Christmas out of the way with,
Simon's
that's
not
what they always say.
having Christmas. He's going to be messing about with that share register. Christmas Day.
I never dressed up in a red suit. I dressed up in a brown suit.
Okay, moving on then. One important one, I feel. Will the academy be a priority of focus for future investment?
I think it's always going to be, something we'll look into and look for investment. It is, as we said earlier, about the different sections of the club. It is something that's, top of the list, really, that's important, to bring on the players, as you've seen with the players now, coming through into the first team. So it does become a high priority.
I think Jason has started looking into the academy, isn't he? So,
yeah.
But to be fair to him, he's got an awful lot on at the moment. But we're starting, obviously we're going to have to sort of review the academy and make sure that it's
He's
working.
brought Anthony in as well, haven't he? With
So, I think that, yes, it is an absolute priority for us.
I know the Small Council during one of the more productive meetings we had as a support partnership made a very good suggestion that any product of the academy that moves on, 10% of their transfer fee to be reinvested.
Yeah, that might be a good idea for the future, but probably our predecessors probably could never afford that. No. So, but yeah, we'll certainly be giving that some serious thought and work with the Smile Council and, to see how they can assist. And but yeah,
it's a good idea, isn't it?
I think as well, though, that, and again, not go into the detail of it because we'll be here forever, but there's different category levels, and we're learning about that from Jason and others as well. And of course, there's certain things in the Football League that we need to do because the category level we then got the other parts of the academy, right? As we were talking earlier on, right down to the junior level, the development stuff that guys do as volunteers, etc. And we're certainly getting involved in that. I'm going down there Friday to have a look at what they're doing with Darren and others, and John and Warren went down last week to have a look at the development centre. So I think that we just want to understand how it all works, how it comes together with the community, with the academy, with the first team. You then get to that ethos that you were talking about as well, and then we start to look at the funding that's going in to say how can we prioritise, is it there, is it that, and taking the views and thoughts of people who are doing those jobs. I mean, Newport County at the moment, I think, and we had all a good feel good factor from Saturday. There's some really good stuff going on. And I had this long conversation with Dan Broadway around that, because he was saying, I'm not sure everybody understands what we're doing down at these development centres, with kids aged 7, 8 and 9, etc. And you only got to look at the soccer tots that they do here on a Monday night. You've got 3-year-old kids. Tonight we were talking about a young lad who they think is really, really good, and he's only like 5 years of age. He's fantastic. Well, absolutely.
John, obviously John Sheridan, the manager, straight away last Thursday we had a quick conversation about it, and immediately he was, right, I'll be down there tomorrow, sort of Friday. So he doesn't hesitate. 100% behind the club. Fantastic, committed manager.
I think it'd be good to get his views as well.
Yeah.
Like Gavin's going down just to have a look himself, and it probably still is a learning thing for us as well.
Yeah, I mean Grant Callagher's bought shares, and he sent me a reply, and he given me an open invitation to go spend the day down there. And it's one of the things, one of the sides of the club that I really don't know much about. And I'm really looking forward to finding that day and going down and spending that day down there. Because when we were at Oxford last Tuesday, watching Andrew Hughes' performance just filled me with so much more pride, because he's, to my memory anyway, he's the only player that remains from when I was the mascot. So I still have a bit of a bond with Andrew, and it just filled me with so much more.
So what's the bond then?
Have I shaved since then, Gav? But
how did he bond with him?
But and it does. I mean, the thing with the academy is so important, because I certainly personally I take so much more pride from an academy product doing well, and if I can be the only one that feels that, Chris.
No, of course.
So to me, there's a greater intrinsic value in developing from within. And
would you like to come Friday with me?
I'll see if I can get the day off, Fox. You bringing your boots?
Wellington boots probably, but it's 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock on Friday.
5 till what time?
8.
5 till 8. Okay.
I will get back to you.
Okay, moving on then. Have you begun any negotiations to our tenancy at Ronnie Parade to better our future match income? If not, do you plan to?
Yeah. We were supposed to have a meeting yesterday, and they cancelled for the second time, third time, can't remember what it was, but we were very disappointed that we obviously couldn't start the ball rolling with them. I think the meeting has been rescheduled for next week, I think. It's I think that's going to take some work to get it right.
That's one thing I do remember from the partnership meetings. Howard Greenup and Dave Boddy were always obviously saying about how, whatever, I can't think of the right word without them offending anybody, that they were difficult to get hold of, to sit down with you and talk. But then I was believing that relationships with
can I say the first thing we've done, we've got them up to date, right?
Okay.
We don't owe them any money. Like historically, they've been owed large amounts of money all the way through, as far as we can understand. We've got them up to date, so we owe them nothing. We're paying them on the nail, as it should be. So we're honouring our agreement, our tenancy agreement. I was a bit disappointed at the meeting last week, to be quite honest with you, where we requested Rodney Hall to have the bar open. They couldn't be bothered to open the bar, and also the place was freezing cold. They didn't have any heating on, which was a bit sad. But I do believe that Jason's received an apology for that. It was an oversight on their behalf. And then obviously there was a function in here Saturday after the match, and I don't know whether you were in here after the match. It was a good 100 or so people that wanted to stay on and drink and basically talk about the match. And but at 5:45 they said they were closing the bar. So that seems a bit pointless to me. They make the money from the sales behind the bar. So everybody just left here and went to the Dodger and the other pubs, which I don't blame them. You know what I mean? So yeah, obviously we need to bring all this to the attention of RP and just see if we can work with them. We're desperate to work with them. We want to help the situation. We want to help their situation, because obviously we know that things are not financially brilliant here with their side of it. So yes, we're desperate to work with them.
I think it's worth saying though, John, that Jason has certainly developed a good working relationship with them on a day-to-day basis.
Bridges, hasn't he?
And he has built some of the bridges, as you say. Paying the monies that we owe them has certainly helped with that. So I do think he's done a good job in that. And there are small little things that they've agreed to. They're putting up with memorabilia in some of the boxes that they wouldn't do before. We need to recognise that they own it, but also they need to recognise that we're tenants as well. And what we want to do, as John rightly points out, is to sit down with them and address some of the niggly things that go on to make it a good experience for everybody. I mean, if you think on a Saturday, and especially last Saturday, you know, we're getting people in here. There is so much more that we could probably do if we benefited more than we do today from things like bar takings, etc.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so there's a sensible in my view, there's a sensible conversation to be had that's a benefit to both parties, and we need to continue to do that.
Well, surely with everybody pulling in the same direction, it can only benefit everybody. Obviously, you know, if you're going to oppose each other in any way, it's obviously considering the benefits of working together. It's just so kind of productive. I don't understand why, you know, we can't also just sit down.
It is, as Gav said it, I think, and John said it, it's just some little things. You know, on Saturday, I think we had about 20 tables in here of hospitality. They all, or most of them, came back in after. And just, you know, we've had a great win. And just as that buzz is coming back, bar shut in, you all got to go now.
5:45.
And
So
that's annoying then, you know. And the players were coming up here, and you just don't need that. That spoils it a bit, you know.
But I think it's just that sit down, that meeting, that we just can't.
Yeah.
We can't get. They won't sit down. You know what I mean? They're too busy, or there's too many other distractions going on. But you know,
We'll get there.
you know, hopefully we'll get this resolved. But yeah, it's something that's high on our list to actually work on.
Look forward to seeing how that develops then.
Yeah, we do.
Have you explored any option for investment into Rodney Parade so as we can hold some ownership of the stadium?
I think that would be way down the line at the moment.
Yeah, we
know,
have had a
it's their
chat with
ground.
Will Godfrey from Newport City Council. We invited him along to the Barnet match.
Brackley.
Brackley,
the
Brackley
replay.
match. And yes, he was giving us. I think there was a feasibility study that was taking place. I'm not sure whether that's complete, or it's pretty close to being complete, if I'm not mistaken. Which the outcome of that will hopefully result in some development on this side of the river. But obviously they can see the advantage, obviously, with the new Friars Walk opening, to having a city centre venue to look after the rugby and the football. And I think that the businesses over there, which I've been in contact with the businesses, which are Newport, I can't think of their name now, but it's a group that represent the 100 or so businesses that are in the city centre. And I've talked to them, and we're looking to send James Watts over, which I think he's already started, and he's sort of researching the companies over there, because there's definitely an advantage. I think the first week when we played Yeovil, we did have an increase in the crowd, didn't we? That was the first week of the opening of Friars. So we were a couple of hundred up. Obviously, the weather last Saturday was diabolical, so I don't think we could.
I mean, when we spoke to the chief exec of the council, I mean, the one thing he did say to us is that all successful cities and indeed towns always have some kind of, either it be football or rugby team at its heart. So, you know, he's quite clear that he wants Newport County Football Club and indeed Newport Rugby, the Dragons, to be where they are today from a geographical perspective, as John has just explained. Now, you know, that's going to take time, and what we want to do is continue that dialogue both with the council and indeed Rodney Parade when we get that opportunity, because it's important that we work together, as you rightly say, to do that. I think if we had to put any investment into the ground today, I think that would probably be a serious amount of conversations that go on to understand what the return we were going to get on that in essence. But hopefully this is where the council can come in and in the development that they're looking to do, support us and indeed the rugby, and give the city what it's basically doing with the emerging of Friars Walk, etc.
I think if Newport City Council do obviously develop here and take over Rodney Parade, we will become a very important partner, you know, along with the Dragons, the rugby, So, you know, I can honestly see a lot of good coming from that.
Yeah.
And,
'Cause good football generates tourism.
definitely, yeah, definitely. You know what I mean, so there's quite a unique opportunity here that a lot of other city centres, other
don't
than
have.
Cardiff City Centre, you know, with the Millennium Stadium, which on a match day, well, we
Yeah.
all know what it's like down there.
Yeah.
You know, so
Location.
we're never going to be that scale, but you know, it certainly could do a lot for encouraging businesses to invest in this area, further restaurants, hotels, all types of venues, you know, and different outlets that would want to come and, you know, obviously if we're putting sort of £3,000-4,000, 3 or 4,000 crowd over that footbridge every Saturday, you know, they're going to want a share of it. And,
of course, yeah.
It's going to be a massive advantage, you know. So we're right on the station. We've got the new bus station being built. We've got good car parking over there now. So it is perfectly set up for, you know, for the future, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, the right moves now could be massively beneficial for the people of Newport.
I'm glad we're thinking that way at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
What fixed assets do the club currently have? Because what a lot of people have said is that we don't have any real assets other than Regan Pool at the time. But what do we currently have? Are we looking at securing any more? And is the proposed Glanlyn training ground through St Modwen going to happen?
I think I think the best asset. Let's talk about it outside the kind of accounting side of life. But the best asset that we've got at the moment is being in the Football League. So having that status and remaining in the Football League is really, really important for a variety of different reasons. Not least the money that comes with that. Not just for the football club, but for the academy and a whole host of things. So, you know, that's really important to retain that, and that's the best asset we've got, and our players as well, and indeed, you know, the staff and everybody else that we employ within that. In terms of from an accounting perspective, do we have any assets? Well, no, not in essence. And what we've got are things that you couldn't do a lot with anyway. Things like barriers and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not as you would normally see in a company in terms of we could use any of our assets to perhaps raise some revenue against it, for instance, because we don't own anything in that respect. Simon's an accountant. You may well have
And
more
a
of a
geek.
view.
Taff.
No, I wouldn't say that, mate.
What frustrates me, Chris, is I look at the financial statements that the club have put out over the years, and they don't tell you anything, Chris. So when you ask me a question about fixed assets and have we got any, as an accountant, I should be able to go to the financial statements and tell you, and interpret them for you. I should be able to do that, but I can't because they don't actually tell you anything. In fact, they tell you as little as they can get away with, essentially. I'd love to change that, but it's not my decision to change that. So from the geek in me, I'd love to know the answer to the question as well, and I'll be pushing to find out, because I think this is the sort of stuff that we can go out, you know, and when they're valued properly. So you may have a situation where there are fixed assets stated in the accounts, but you know, the first question I'm going to ask is, are they stated correctly? Because I'm a geek. So I'd love to be able to tell you, but the thing is that where I see we're in a position now where I should be able to go to a set of financial statements that the club has produced and tell you, and I can't. I look at it and think, actually, how should it be? And how it should be is that you can go to those statements and see a headline figure, and then further in the statements you look at the notes to the account, and you see a list and valuation for every item, and that doesn't happen. And up to me, if it was within my gift, that would happen.
That reminds me, what happened to your old dog suit?
Yeah.
That was an asset.
That must
I
be
can,
an asset.
I can absolutely assure you, with the aroma coming off that suit, that's depreciated at a hell of a rate. But going back to see, this is a personal view, but I think to turn around and say there's not a lot of potential value in players that we got in this squad, I think it's naive. I don't know what the position is with scouts coming to watch, but I'd be amazed if people are not coming to watch Andrew Hughes. I'd be absolutely amazed.
Well, I mean, you only have to go and look in the the box to see that there are quite a number of different scouts here.
Probably average 10 a game.
I wouldn't not far off it. I mean, sometimes I think that's because they geographically live in the area and want to come watch some football. But other times it's because of the fact that they're here watching certain players. I mean, we've got to know some of them because they're the same faces that come all the time because they look at the region. And you're right, Simon, in terms of, some of those players, will be worth X amount of money. Maybe not now, maybe in the future, maybe so, don't know, because obviously it depends on who wants to purchase it at a given time. But I wouldn't disagree with what you said there in terms of the value we've got. I think in terms of do we own anything in fixed assets, well, we don't. The club doesn't. On your question around the your training side of life around Llanwern, that's something we're going to pick up and look at. We're aware of it, but we haven't yet engaged on that. But that's certainly on our radar to do so. Yeah,
we've had some short conversations with Steve Ward from Newport Live, I think it is, and obviously he wants to meet with us, and so we will be doing that. It's priority, but it's slipped a little bit, to be fair, that we've just been so busy with other stuff, and so we'll be meeting with him now, hopefully over Christmas, and seeing what facilities he can offer. They've been very good with Newport Riverfront. Obviously they gave us a massive discount there for our meetings. Which was very good. You can imagine we had a lot of people over there. We've had countless meetings there as well. So they really did look after us there. So to be fair to to Steve,
they did very well.
They've been very helpful to the calls.
That's great. It's good that you guys are speaking to the right people at the moment. And obviously, as far as the assets, the reason of asking for that is that the phrase that we've been on the pitch a football league team, but off the pitch we're still in the Conference South.
I think that's.
I don't think that's well, to a certain extent, I don't think that has been an unreasonable statement to make. I think that we, and indeed others, and the club officials are trying to put that right. And I think that even in the short space of time, we're a million miles away from where we were in terms of the controls that John mentioned earlier on, in understanding the finances, where we're at, who we owe, who we don't owe, what's going out, what's coming in, miles and miles away from where we were. And I think, to be fair to the club and to be fair to them historically, I don't think there's a textbook that goes with it that says when you move from the conference into the football league, this is the way you now need to act. And I think that's made it quite difficult. And so people are finding a way. But one of I think the most important appointments that was made by the previous board is Jason, in terms of coming in, doing the job that he's doing.
Mentioned his name an awful lot, in a positive manner. So I can only assume that he's doing a fantastic job at the moment.
He's a football club, a massive leap to becoming a football league club, and he's brought a lot to us, and directing us in the right way, and the board meetings, and just the process of it all. And
he's got
something wrong, he's there. And,
he's got a footballing brain. There's no doubt about that. He understands. His network is immense in terms of who he knows and the way he goes about his business and he conducts it. Let's be clear that John wouldn't come to this club if it was because we'd rung him up. He's come to this club because he's worked with Jason before. They've got a good relationship. He's now building that relationship with us, and that's how it works. And and then that chain goes on. And even with the striker on Saturday put in 3 away, Jason was instrumental in bringing him to the club because of his relationship with Swansea City. So,
three important people. I think it's obviously Jason, Nick Igo, and obviously John Sheridan. They are 3 people that we've got in to actually make this club a lot more professional. John's footballing team there already. With Warren and also Mike behind him, because obviously getting a lot of help from Mike Flynn, and when he knows the players, he knows the area. Warren's a superb guy as well. And it's the whole thing is looking quite positive.
Together nicely.
If I just add, Chris, from as the person that wasn't in the original 4 that had to step up to the board on Les's instruction, I can imagine the amount that you guys had to rely on Jason was phenomenal.
Initially, yeah. I think,
You know, and I think that's one of the reasons why that they speak so highly of him.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they will have had to have relied on him so much, not having that
But I think he
natural
also,
handover.
he's just naturally got on with it. He's a
Yeah.
football man. He's
You've got to
he's been in
remember as
football
well.
20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to remember as well that it must have been really difficult for him.
Yeah.
Because he had a relationship with Les, Howard, you got us lot. So, you know, who does he turn to?
At one point,
Which
yeah,
horse
he
does
must have
he
been-
which horse does he back? And you know, I mean, we've had our moments with him as you always do, and he's had our moments with us. But actually, that's part of building a relationship.
we do call him a bit of a drama queen.
Yeah,
these
he
days,
loves it
which
though.
he,
Yeah,
quite,
but it works.
laughs about.
It works very, very well because we've got that kind of relationship as well, and you know,
It's
he
actually just
and his
getting-
stuff.
It gets better and better. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
he's
done
good.
a
He's a
great
good
job.
guy.
I
You
am-
would say it's a
I-
healthy working relationship.
I imagine our style is very different to that of the previous board as well. So the adjustment that that Jason and his team have had to make. I mean, I've worked for a company where sort of uncertainty and restructure is never far away, and I know what it's like to work in that sort of culture. And there must have been some instability at times among the non-playing staff. But you know, it appears to me that it's been a credit to Jason that there doesn't seem to have been too much upheaval and turmoil. That's how it's appeared to me anyway. I mean, you guys are closer to it.
I
but
think that the fact that we've got a good relationship with him, and indeed the others who work there as well, he can pick the phone up and really let rip if he wants to, and that's fine. And we do that at times, vice versa as well. But it works, you know. As a relationship, it works, and I think that's the important thing for people to realise is that, you know, relationships do take a bit of time to gather. You've got to be able to trust each other and all the rest of it, and it does work. But I can't speak, and I think all of us can't speak highly enough of him in terms of the job. He knows football inside out. Absolutely knows football inside out. No doubt about that.
And knows everybody.
And knows everybody. Yeah.
That's great. We'll push on then. Will you try and convince John Sheridan to stay on at the end of the season, or have you already planned for life without him?
Well, we certainly haven't planned for life without him, because I don't think that we're thinking beyond that. But I think what we do recognise is that, you know, we're going to have to start thinking about that pretty soon. I mean, we've got an agreement with John now until the end of the season. I think if we could get him to sign up for something different today, we probably would do. But you know, we need to, you know, sit down with John at the appropriate time and have a discussion with him. But also, we've got to reflect his personal circumstances. We're in South Wales; he didn't live in South Wales.
Of course.
So you know, and as he said on the Meet the Manager night in here, you know, he's got to weigh all those things up. But we've got a very good relationship with John. He's a decent bloke as well. We go out with him after all the board meetings as well. We have a pleasant evening, and he's a decent guy, you know. And he wants Newport to do really, really well. He wants to be attached to success.
Committed to his job. He's very
Definitely.
professional.
Because I've met him for an interview myself, and a lovely bloke, and he certainly does know his stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sorry.
no, look, Chris. I mean, we're all still massive fans. If you'd have sat with us, you know, at Oxford, you'd have seen us. You know, I was worried for John's blood pressure at one point. And the thing is, you know, I get home from work and I watch Sky Sports News and I see that Chesterfield sacked their manager this week, and I know that, you know, Chesterfield is one of his ex-clubs and they're a League One club. And I think to myself, you know,
He's going to
I
be
hope they
very
don't come. I hope they don't come knocking.
No, it's going to
I
be
hope
very
they haven't
sought after.
noticed,
You know, I mean,
you know?
he's done well
Yeah.
everywhere he's gone. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And,
You know what I mean? And the fan in you says, you know, there's plenty of other people out there. Go on, go get one of those other ones out there. You know, the fan in you does that.
I mean, I know ideally everybody, you know, with the run that we've been on and the way he's turned things around, you know, I want to see him sign a 5-year contract tomorrow.
You say that though, Chris, but we can't guarantee that any of us are getting through 5 elections to see it through.
Yeah, but then that's obviously the best case scenario, or ideally.
You got to get out close.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, with a 30-day termination condition.
If he is only planning on seeing out this season, I think a careful and precise recruitment process for the next manager would definitely be installed, because we don't want another Anthony Hudson and we don't want another Terry Butcher, obviously.
do you know, that's an excellent point you make, because if you look at the last handful of managers we've appointed, the ones that have done the best are the ones we went out and got.
Yeah.
You know, that we didn't hold this. And it seems to me, because I've not been part of the process, but it seems to me that the last 2 recruitment processes have just seemed like it's taken forever.
I mean, Anthony Hudson. I think Harry Redknapp must have phoned up our previous board. I thought, oh my God, Harry Redknapp.
Well, there was someone on that board, wasn't there, Mr. Bogart?
I'll hold my hand up. And at the time, we were all making the decision. And but what we did do, which I'll be honestly, I spoke to Chris Blight, and he was hell of a chance. However, I'll go back to what I said earlier. It was who was available at the time. And he was obviously the best option at the time, but we had a get-out clause in his contract, a termination clause. So if he didn't do what he said he was going to do, we could have got rid of him quite easily without too much damage financially to the club. That didn't exist with Terry, you know what I mean, for whatever reason. As I go back, I'll probably go back and say that, you know, that when he was appointed, probably not enough attention was paid, because then again, Paul O'Les might have to pick it up. You know what I mean? So, but you know, we really don't know how that was decided. But yeah, it is very important. I think a very important issue is who's available at the time. Right? Okay. Justin Edinburgh was available at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, and he came and
he was a great appointment at the right time.
Great success, done a fantastic job, but also was given all the tools, mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I will say that. You know, we've given anything but all the tools to John. You know, he's working on a low budget and trying to find as many loan players as he can. So he's got a real tough job.
He's doing it superbly.
I would dare to say that probably he's one of the better managers we've had here in a long, long time. That's my own opinion. And as far as keeping him, well, you know, we try and make him as welcome as we can. And I'd like to think that perhaps if we can have a cup run or something, that, you know, we can persuade him to have a season with us if someone doesn't come knocking.
We can move him out the tap as well, can't we then? 29 quid a night.
You know, his wife and his son come down to watch, you know, as many matches as they can, but I think Jay's in his son's Barnsley Academy.
Yeah.
Right, so you know, he's obviously committed to the weekends and football, whatever, up there. And
now that would worry me if Barnsley got rid of their manager. That would worry me, I think.
They might do at the moment.
They're not. I have to say, I do look out for their results for the wrong reasons. But that would concern me, I think. And again, you know, we've got to appreciate that in essence John has come here because of his relationship with Jason, and he's fulfilling a job that probably if we'd gone through a recruitment process he probably wouldn't have applied for because of the geography. So you know, he is helping us out in that respect, and if something came up closer to home and he decided to go, whilst it would be really difficult if that was the case, and we hope he wouldn't do that because he is enjoying it, you wouldn't blame the bloke for doing that. But you know, let's hope that doesn't happen. I was interested, I mean, when we had the meet the manager night, and I think everybody was saying how well Bennett was doing, and he said exactly, he is doing really well, but let's not tell everybody about it, otherwise they might want it back. So, and I think it's similar with John. You know, he's doing really, really well. If we can keep that under the radar, you know, hopefully
not easy when we go and beat Luton 3-0. You know, they're probably one of the best sides and the biggest playing budget in one of the biggest playing budgets.
Certainly one of the biggest playing budgets.
But yeah, the thing is, you can't have the penny in the bun. You can't have a guy who's absolutely flying and advancing your football club and there not be people watching. You can't have penny in the bun.
I think we're also missing the one important thing, that he's got a fantastic number 2 that's just moving back
Yeah.
at Newport,
Yeah.
and a learning number 3.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
so
We do have a good combination.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. You know what I mean? And
possibly a future
John,
combination.
John's an honourable guy.
Absolutely
He
agree.
works very hard, and you know he deserves the success that he's getting at the moment. And he's got the team, you know, with the right frame of mind. They're all, you know, they all think they look like they're unbeatable at the moment. I think, but they're playing that well. The way they were playing the ball round on Saturday on that terrible pitch, the wet, and they were doing a really good job.
He's probably got him thinking they're unbeatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And,
Well,
that,
I
and
think
that's
they are.
an important point that Tony makes, actually, because I think that what we have now is probably the closest to a succession plan
Yeah.
Yeah.
than we've ever had. But certainly that I can remember in the 20 years I've been a crazy fan.
I think as time goes on, we've got to sit down
Yeah.
with John
Too early.
and
not,
see how things go now the next sort of few weeks.
Well, I suppose it'd be nice to know that it's in your thought process.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
definitely,
yeah.
Without a
Yeah,
doubt. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
Every time he wins.
Okay. The message was we must stay up last time. How confident we will. And I think this is a bit of an obvious one because we've spoken about it so much. Has removing Butcher bettered our chances? It's quite an obvious one, obviously. But are we going to stay up in your opinion? Do you think?
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. I think
we're a lot more confident now than what
Yeah.
we were 6-8 weeks ago.
Look at the facts, Chris. We're unbeaten in 9. We went to Accrington and got a draw. We went to Oxford, and I mean, these are teams that will be there at the end of the season, and we've gone there. And I can tell you, Accrington, we weren't hanging on. We were hanging on a bit against Oxford, but not at all against. And remember, those 2 games we haven't been behind in either of those 2 games. And for me, actually, my concern was more about the sides around us, about that we've made a change and seen the benefit of the change. Would the other sides make a change and see a similar benefit from making a change? Well, York haven't. York's are really struggling.
It's one important issue that John, every time we meet with him, he brings up. It's like, look, I know things are going well, but just be prepared. They're not going to stay like this.
Yeah.
No.
We are going to have our downs, and and it could be just around the corner. We just don't know. But that's how it is. Football. He keeps saying how close it is. This league. Anybody can beat anybody in the league.
Yeah.
From the top. There are teams that are stronger, but on the right day, Luton come here and lose 3-0. And Oxford, who are top of the league now, can struggle against us. So, but he did say, just don't get too excited, don't get too carried away. We are going to have some losses in the near future, and but he's going to do his utmost for that not to happen. You know what I mean?
I suppose it'd be difficult to be a county fan without being prepared for Stagger days to come along.
But Chris, I'll take this opportunity to pay tribute to these 3 guys and Sean, because when they took the decision to replace the management team, they were taking a massive risk, Chris. I mean, just imagine it had it not gone as well as it has. I mean, and the thing is, no. I mean, to their credit, to their credit. I mean, for my money, it was a brave call already.
Just got a bold step.
Particularly considering the financial situation.
Yeah, I think
and the financial position we're in.
It's important to say though that we're supporters, and we were as fed up as what Chris.
No. I absolutely get that, John.
I think that day it happened. You know what I mean? That game, and we thought, we're not putting up with this.
No.
I mean,
But John, we couldn't pay a second team off.
No.
Do you know?
Oh,
I mean,
no.
it's a ball. It was a ballsy
It was a
call.
massive ball step.
But I think for someone who wasn't around that table at the time, I think it was a ballsy
But
call.
again, we took counsel on that from Jason and indeed others.
Supporters direct.
It was quite evident it needed to be done in some shape or form. We took the time to, make that decision, and we're in a very fortunate position that John's come in and done what he's done. But that said, if you look at the profile of John and what you need for this league, he meets that profile.
Perfect.
If you look at the profile of others and what you need in this league, they didn't.
Yeah.
So
although it was, and you know, there's been an article in the Argus this evening from Michael Perlman around it as well, that kind of implies that we wouldn't get that lucky again in 20 years and all the rest of it. And he may or may not be right. I don't know. But I think, you know, hindsight's a great thing. What we did was we took into consideration the performance, where we were, the confidence that we'd lost in the previous management team, and probably more so that Crawley game, and where people, as I keep saying, queuing to give us their money and then had to come in to watch that.
Yeah.
You know, you had that all up in a pot, and then you look at where we were, and we becoming a supporters' own club, a massive, you know, milestone in terms of the change of where we've been to where we were going, coupled with Jason, you know, and his views and thoughts of where football was and what we could do, who we could, you know, put into place and position accordingly. It just seemed that absolutely it was the right decision to do. And touch wood, so far, so good.
I think out of the 2,200 trust members, I don't think there would be many of them that would have made the same decision.
I don't think it would be anybody.
I mean, so
As far as confidence in you as a supporter, looking at a board of directors, I was in a work course in Wolverhampton the day Terry Butcher got sacked, and I had a text message from my good lady there telling me that Terry Butcher had been sacked. And the first thing I thought is, because I'd asked you that question previously in the last interview, you know, would you have the stones to do what's right? And it turns out you did. And I thought, I'll tell you what, the first thing that came to my head was fair play, guys. You know, you do, and that's where my confidence. Well, like I said, I always had confidence in you guys. Honestly,
Well recovered, mate.
honestly, I always had a confidence.
You're going downhill then.
But then after that, I thought, you know, and I saw nothing but good coming, and obviously,
I think with all decisions, though, I mean, you know, sometimes you make a decision and you realise it's wrong, but if you go through a thought process and you can show what that thought process was, and you take the right advice at the right time, and you think, look, we've got to make this, then you've got to do it. If you, I mean, Simon was saying it earlier on about some of the other clubs who've, I'll tell you what, we'll give another 3 games, we'll carry on, we'll do this and do that, and that might be the right thing to do at times. I think if you weigh it all up and you look at the profile, I think we believed it's the right decision, and hopefully they'll prove the case when we get to the end of the season. And we got absolute confidence in the job John is doing. I mean, he's just completely turned it around. The players are different. You can see it, you can feel it, and the results are speaking for themselves.
Yeah, I know you're saying about how some teams have given it a few more games, but you tend to find that that's more relevant when a manager at a club has had success with that club previously, like Mourinho, for example. And Jurgen Klopp at Dortmund, had a terrible start to the one season. They stuck with him and he pulled them back. You know.
Let's go back a little bit, and obviously we had a similar position when Dean Holsworth was here, where he had a particularly bad start to his managerial career here, and then obviously we supported him. We looked at the situation at the time, because I was part of the board then. Looked at the situation and tried to put right what was wrong, and obviously he was looking for support, and we brought Tim Harris in to actually get those few players that we were short of, and then again it was just adding a few players to the nucleus of what he had, and then the following season we went and recorded 103 points and walked probably one of the best seasons we've had in a long time, and then history turned out to be what it was, when he moved on, and that was it.
If you're talking about exposure, then I would say we have an exposure to the manager leaving, and in my opinion we have a reliance on loan players. But then I think the way football's going, I think a lot of sides in League One, League Two, and Conference have a reliance on loan players too, Chris. I think that's the way football's going. So I don't think that our reliance on loan players is any greater or any worse than anyone in our position.
Look at Portsmouth, what they're throwing at their team this year, financially. Miles above anyone else. Yeah. And where are they at the moment? They're slipping down the league at the moment.
They're in the playoff spots, aren't they?
It's in the playoffs, but Oxford, obviously big budget there. Plymouth, another big budget. They're all up there, but none of them, they're not a million miles in front of us.
Not running away.
And Accrington, I think, have got a slightly smaller budget than ours.
Yeah.
One of the smallest.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So there, you know what I mean.
So it's not the size of the budget; it's what you do with it that counts.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good work.
Very good.
Very good.
Hey, is that a text you got from the good lady?
No comment on that. I'm afraid. I think we'll move on there.
Yeah. We halfway through, yeah?
Oh,
Yeah, what are we on? Question number what?
Question number 13 of 16.
Okay.
We're getting there, guys. We're getting there.
That's
You're
only
all
2
right.
hours.
Chairman/director elections. When and where? Who can apply? And when will a first vote take place?
So we covered this on Friday at the open meeting that we had, and the material is up now on the website for it. And we've said consistently that we want to do an incremental approach, so we keep stability in the club. But in effect, we're going to be putting a package together now in December, which will outline pretty much the profile of the skill sets that you would need to come on board, some of the responsibilities you would carry, some of the things you'd be accountable for, what's expected of you, etc., so that people can have a real good look at that and go, do you know what, I could do that, I could offer this, or I could offer that, whatever it may well be. And then we'll start those elections off in the new year. And then we have a process that goes right the way up, which Tony knows a lot better than I, having done this previously as well, whereby people will need to put a manifesto forward, i.e. if you were to apply, Chris, on Chris, this is what I want to do, this is what I got to offer, etc. And people will then vote for you. And if they vote for you, and we've got that in a position whereby you won a democratic election, we go to AGM, and then basically the appointment is ratified, and then you become on the trust board.
That's
about it.
That's about it, mate.
For the record, I will not be applying. I'm not showing any shoes in the director's box. I'm gazelles on the terrace, so that's where I'll be.
But you
for
can be on the
rest
trust,
of my days.
mate, and still be on the terrace.
Yeah, it's interesting because you kind of think about who does what and all the rest of it, and us here, and I have a box that I very rarely sit in now because I go in the other one to do the duties, and that is part of the consideration of stuff. These two guys are both members of the business club, and they don't go in there very often as well. But we've paid for the season,
Our
so
friends, our friends and Tony's family sit in the business club, and I try to call in there as much as I can. And there's nothing I'd like to be sat in there better than sat there, comfortable rather than a suit and a tie, talking to a load of Italians who don't speak any English.
I think,
so,
I think
Do you want to name that club?
I don't really let them work that one out for themselves. But
you look at last week. I think we trust meeting Monday, Oxford Tuesday, youth match Wednesday,
Board meeting.
board meeting Thursday, Friday
Open meeting.
the open meeting up there, Saturday the game.
And it is, and I think that's 1 week. And you think when you look at all these things, the biggest thing that people have got to offer is time.
Yeah.
Because it does take a lot of time, especially kind of trying to get things up and running. But that said, I just think there's so many people out there who can pick up where we've started, etc., and drive that forward to the next stages. And hopefully, whoever it is that comes in, we've laid the right foundation for things, and
there's a
moving
bit of a
forward.
financial input as well, because obviously we go
Glenn's camera.
Glenn's camera, which I've already told Glenn. We've all, as a group of directors, we put £200 in each to pay for Glenn's new camera. Or go
Nice
towards
camera,
it. It's a
actually.
nice camera. Yeah, it's
Very
good.
nice.
Very professional.
When we go out with John, and we take it in turns. The directors take it in turns to pay for the meal. So we're entertaining John, and Warren's been there, and Jason's been very good as well. He's actually paid once himself.
We're waiting for Lewis to pay.
Yeah, but
Lewis,
Lewis,
if you're watching,
Lewis, if you're watching, we haven't got much chance.
you should have.
We'll be,
He should have a
be in,
Christmas one, shouldn't he?
we'll be in McDonald's with Lewis, I think.
But yeah, all that comes, and then obviously we've got to step up to the bank overdraft facility, because obviously someone's going to have to take responsibility of that. So it's all there, but obviously it encourages us to make sure the business is run as it should be. You know what I mean? And also we're registered with Companies House and the Football League as directors. So if it does go badly wrong, we're going to be responsible.
And that's the key thing for people to understand as well. I think sometimes you can look at it and think, oh, directors in the box, away or home or whatever. And actually, some of that, as John alluded to earlier on, you're in a situation with a load of people that the only thing you've got in common with them is the one subject, and sometimes you think, God, this is going to dry up pretty soon, especially when they can't speak English. That makes it a little bit more challenging. But as John said, there's the other things that come with it. The liabilities that do sit with you as a director of the club and all the rest of it. That said, we want people to get involved, and if they're happy to understand all of that and know what that means, then great, come along and get involved in the elections, get involved in the decision making to take the club to the next level, because it needs that injection without a shadow of a doubt. And given the members that we've got, we're sure that there are people out there who'll be willing to step up and do that. But Tony makes an interesting point as well. You've said that you will want to sit on there because you'd rather be on the terraces and the rest of it, which is great, but that shouldn't stop you still being involved and co-opted on, for instance, and through your groups.
I'll be happy to be involved and help out however I can.
Yeah, well, and which you do with a group. But I think the point I'm making is that you don't have to go and carry the liability with things. You could be a co-opted member, on some of these groups, etc., which I think are important going forward.
Whoever's elected to it, I can say now, and I can say this for all of us, is that we will fully support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we support each other. Whoever's elected on by the supporters, we will fully support them. It's not an easy job, and you know what I mean. We'd love to see someone else just grab all of it, but they can be guaranteed that we would give them. It's not us stepping back and saying, right, carry on. You've deposed us. That's not what it's about. We will actually stand by them and help them to actually take the club forward with anything we can do.
Good stuff. Can you explain the benefit scheme?
Sure.
I know you've probably covered
Show
this.
them when you need it.
I know you've probably covered this, but then obviously there have been people like myself who haven't able to make the meetings.
I think. Sorry, do you want?
No, I was going to say, I can tell you how it works from my perspective. To me, it runs similar to like I work for Lloyds Bank, so there's products we have in Lloyds Bank which
You're not advertising Lloyds Bank, are you?
No, absolutely not. They don't pay me anywhere near enough. But where you pay a monthly sum, and you build up a point. It's similar to the Advantage card system.
Yeah,
These are boots.
Yeah.
Where you put some, you donate or you spend so much money, and you get points in return for that, and the more points you accumulate,
Points make prizes.
Yes, absolutely. The higher the level of benefits you gain, and I imagine that this scheme is an ongoing scheme, which we'll be looking to add things, in the future. And I don't know if we've gone as far as looking towards season tickets for next season, but I would like to think
Not yet.
no. But I'd like to think
too soon,
that sort of thing would be would be included at some point in the future.
Yeah, I mean, when we first looked at the benefits and rewards package scheme, one of the reasons why we were looking at it was it was based on the model of what others had done, and we always cite the Hearts model, which is quite successful, similar demographic, etc. And that's why we looked at that. The other thing is as well, and we answered this in the open meeting the other night, that we recognise that perhaps not everybody could, at the time of share offer, afford to give 50, 100, 1,000, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we wanted something that was complementary to that. That's where the benefits and rewards package came in, but it was a different scheme because it was saying actually pay monthly, and as Simon has rightly said, there's points attached to it that then mean you can have certain experiences along with that. But to all intents and purposes, the important part about it is that it's contributing money to the club. We're relying on that to help us get through the season. It's an important revenue stream in there for us. So the reason why Sean has been pushing it in the way that he has, and we touched on it in the Meet the Managers night, and the uptake, we're really pleased with it, but it just gives people a different ability to support the club that perhaps they couldn't do in the shareholding. And what we've then done is attached it to that. And if you think of some of the stuff that's going on over Friars Walk as well, by being a member of the benefits scheme, and you'll get a little card, and that'll give you discounts in
some of the shops. I think they got the new
Some of the
restaurants,
food,
that Pierre Bistro over there as well. So you are getting something back, and as Simon said, it's very similar to like most of the schemes they do with cards as well. So, but I probably can't emphasise how much it's important to the sustainability of the club, and it will grow over time. And so you'll see some benefits that come back, and it may well be you link it in with season tickets or whatever it is. It's a whole host of things you can do with it.
Well, could I make a suggestion on that then? Obviously, you're talking about reward points, for people to put in their money in. Have you thought of maybe doing something similar for loyalty, as far as turning up to a certain amount of games a season is concerned?
Well, I'd love to do that. That's something I'm a big believer in. That people who come week in and week out, and there should be a table. So they can, see, right, all right. So it's probably only going to be an advantage when we get a good cup run and tickets, priority tickets and things like that.
It could be we use it to sort of say, well, let's all boost it as a group of supporters. Let's boost it so that we can hang on to John or something, or get X, Y, Z players in, or do you know what I mean? So there's lots of things we could sort of do to push it if we had to, because at the moment it's just jogging along quite nicely.
But
building.
I think though, Tony makes a good point, which I think is building on what you're saying there, Chris, in terms of how do we reward loyalty to the club from pitching up in all weathers, etc. And as Tony said, that could mean that you get priority for cup tickets, whether it be home or away or whatever it is. And I think that is something we should look at and look to see if we can tie it into that.
I mean, very quick.
I think it's. Oh, sorry, Chris. Go on.
A very quick suggestion on that. Then you make a minimum of 15 league games a season. Next season, you get your kits for half price. But that's just an off-the-cuff suggestion.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll have a look at the database. I'll ask to have a look at the database and see how it works.
The only thing I would say is that, that might or might not be a good idea. The thing I would say is that. And some of the advice that we've taken from Nick Igo with this is that we've got to be careful to not to discount things, and so you lose a revenue stream that's going to be coming in. And what we were trying to do with the benefits and rewards package was almost get something that didn't cost the club any money per se, still generated a revenue, but gave a benefit to people. And that's why you look at things like a director for a day or away director for a day. It's kind of in the overhead. So you're not looking, and if you look at the cost of a kit, you take 50% off it, you could be eating into quite a significant amount of profit or back into a cost. So, I know that's just a one dimension right here.
I suppose in some ways you have to speculate to accumulate. I mean, having that incentive might cause one fan, or cause these fans to go to 5 more games a season than they would, and then you're making more money in the long run.
The easy way to what Gav's saying is, if you've got £25 owed to you on your bonus scheme, and you spend it in the shop, well, actually, we lose £25. But if you go in Nando's and have a £25 meal,
and we don't
on your bonus, we don't lose anything, and you get your £25 meal.
I think it's one for the supporters partnership.
Way.
It's a good idea.
I mean, so we can talk around then, and
I think there's massive potential in this, Chris. I don't think I think it's something we shouldn't try to run before we can walk. But I think there's massive potential, and I've experienced a similar scheme which has got bells on, because my good lady, for her sins, is a Spurs fan. And I tried to take.
Worse here.
I tried to take her. I tried to take her to one game a year, but to take her just to one game a year, I have to buy us both a membership, which I begrudge, but it is what it is. And every £1 you spend, whether that be on a ticket, whether that be in the club shop, online, you get a point for it, and then you accumulate a higher level of membership, if you like, and then that unlocks more potential. So, for instance, you get so many points, and you get the chance to buy away tickets, or you get the chance to buy a Europa League ticket, because that's the one they play in midweek, love, and it really works there, right? But it really works because they've had years to formulate it, and they've got the systems there. We don't even know if we have the systems.
We do have a database, but I don't know if any individual just walking up You know,
Yeah.
if you walk up on the day and buy a ticket, I don't think you're questioning name and address and all that.
I'm sure they
it's
would.
only online orders.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. It would require some sort of IT upgrade
Yeah.
to do it. But Spurs have been developing it for years, and I think that is something with a lot of potential. But I personally feel that it's going to take the medium to long term to really, develop that potential in it.
Yeah.
It's certainly one for the future then, I suppose. Okay, will you actively seek further financial help from businesses primarily rather than the supporters who have already given so much?
Yeah, I think yes is the answer to that. That we're hopefully going to start talking to some businesses that, and a couple of people said they only want to contribute to the play-in budget, which I understand that. You know what I mean? However, I think probably know that the finances are under control. That the last thing we want is anybody coming in and want to start tinkering around with a playing squad. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, we would certainly like any business to come forward and have a chat. We're arranging a few meetings now in the near future. I don't want to say who at the moment, but I think that might be just in case they're not interested. And but yeah, we're working on it.
And I think the other thing is as well, what you've got to recognise is that we need to look after the businesses that are already supporting us.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So, Mr. Tom, who is obviously main sponsor at the moment.
Take the Bristol Rovers
with us.
So,
we've had a number of conversations with Richie there in terms about what we're looking at for next season, etc. And I think it's important that we, remember what we've got already, as well as then looking further afield in terms of attracting other sponsors in for next year, or businesses in for next year. And if you'd have been in here on Saturday, I thought James Watts had done a cracking job in terms of the place was pretty full with new companies that we hadn't seen before as well. So credit to him for doing that. And I think we've just got and it comes under the banner of Johnson's working group, that they're sketching out that commercial strategy now to see where we drive that forward. But I do think we've got to look after those that we've got involved already, because I think historically that's been quite difficult for the club.
I hope Richie's enjoying it a bit more. Obviously with the large investment he's making as club sponsor. And we are talking to him as much as we possibly can. I try and speak to him every home match, and we'll invite him basically any away match he wants to go. But yeah, he's a very important person, and we've had nothing but positive response about future engagements as well with him. So very good.
I mean, it's interesting as well, because if you think when you sponsor Newport County, you think to yourself, well, what do you get for it? Do you know the best thing they get for it? FIFA 15, FIFA 16, if we stay in the league. That's massive, in terms of that, and that is enormous. That marketing value of that with their brand on the shirts, etc. And that's the key thing for them, and that's why the league status is really, really important, to the sponsors as well. And what we've got to do for next season, as we sit down to do the planning for that, we need to maximise that value in terms of what we've got.
Could I say a really good example of the FIFA games, because I think that's a really good point. When Ludogorets were playing Liverpool in the Champions League, we were travelling to Tranmere, and there was a group of Ludogorets fans, and then they pointed to say, "Oh, Newport County from FIFA." And I'm like, a small Hungarian team was just making their first, appearance in the Champions League.
And it
know
is,
who we are.
Yeah, and it's it is a by default and indirectly, but it is a massive marketing side of life. So having that your brand on the front of that shirt is worth a lot more in the wider side of things, as opposed to the local and the boards outside, etc. So yeah, it's a great saleable asset.
The TV is a big deal as well, though, because Football League it gets a lot more exposure now.
Although we haven't made a live appearance on TV since we've been promoted.
Well, no, we haven't, and I don't know how they come to decisions. Personally, this is going to be controversial, but personally, I think it's irresponsible of the BBC to continue to show Salford
I don't think that's controversial at all. I actually agree with you there.
They'll change their mind when
You
we
know-
draw Manchester United in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
Well,
As
you
far
know,
as Salford
it'd be nice
City
to have
are
a live
concerned,
game.
it's nice for Salford City, but then the only reason
Well-
they're getting it is because of the class of '92 that
Chris,
control the club.
there's tougher stories in non-league out there than Salford City.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You know, and we know that because we've come through the divisions and seen it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and personally, I think there's probably a corporate social responsibility issue there, that you know they continue to put that money into a club that really doesn't need it, when there's clubs out there that, you know, they haven't got the money to buy a tin of paint the main stand.
Yeah.
I think it really opened my eyes when I was on the board when we were down in Blue Square South, you know, and going around some of the clubs then and how they would work. You know, it was just everybody volunteering. You know,
Yeah.
the chairman out digging, you know,
Yeah.
forking the pit. Oh, it was just
Well,
incredible.
Lewis was forking the pitch
Yeah,
the other
well,
week.
that's right. Yeah, but yeah, you know, to look at it at that level, and then, you know, obviously to watch it go up to the conference, and then finally the Football League, and now, you know, you started to sort of touch on the, you know, League One Championship is, you know, it's the different levels are just incredible.
Worlds apart,
You know,
aren't they?
and you often see these clubs slipping down to our level, like Portsmouth, Leighton Orient. Do you know what I mean? And you look at the wing. Yeovil, yeah. This is a bigger club, and that's what I'm mentioning. But yeah, it was. It's quite an experience, you know, and yes, it's you know, it's not all about money.
Right.
Where are we on the questions then? What number are we on?
That's the final question,
Oh,
there,
well,
guys.
it's only
No
2 hours.
shortly.
See, if we hadn't bought a new
First-
camera, we'd have run out of film by now.
Battery.
Battery's
gone.
Right, obviously you've touched on the finances, and now we're comfortable with finances now, so that's the first part of my question already answered.
Excellent.
So do you foresee us being in a position to start being ambitious anytime soon? Is the second part of that question.
I think, can I just add on the finance side, and where we say we're comfortable, I think what we mean by that is that we've got a handle on them.
Right.
Yeah.
We're still in a position, you know, and a club like ours will probably be in that for a period of time, unless we have a really good cup run or we can sell somebody or whatever it may well be. You know, we're always going to be in a challenging position from that perspective for obvious reasons. You know, so whilst we understand everything now and we've got it under control, you know, we still need people to come through the gate. We still need people to look at the benefits, rewards packages, etc. And we still need to make sure that we're prudent with every penny that we're spending. There's no doubt about that. I kind of think from an ambition perspective, you know, first and foremost it is staying in the league and getting up the league as much as we can. I think, as we discussed earlier on, the community side is really, really important to us. The academy side is really important to us. And wouldn't it be great if we got to a situation whereby, you know, we've got the different academy statuses that are reflective of some other bigger clubs that are around, and you start to see more of what we've seen with the young players coming through. But I think for this season, we need to stay in the league. If we can get a cup run, we win Saturday, or actually draw Saturday, bring them back here, and in the meantime draw Liverpool at home or somebody like that, and you know that would be absolutely
You
fantastic.
on the away game, didn't you?
I-
Send them away, yeah.
Important issue. I don't think we're comfortable. I think we're managing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
by you know, if we manage, lucky enough to get what Gav just mentioned, we'll then be comfortable.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we're just managing.
yeah.
Right, and we're going to need other incomes, you know,
Yeah.
rewards and benefits, anything else. We're going to need perhaps a sale to get us through to the end of the season. Next season, it's still going to be tough, but it's going to be a bit
It's
easier.
going to be easier.
Right, we're not going to be sort of burying any old stuff for this season. There still will be some, you know, we'll still need the season ticket sales. We'll still need some advance money to come in to get us through the summer, but by no means is it going to be as bad as what it was this year. You know what I mean? So
Can I come in, because I don't want to feel like we're giving a different message to the ones we've given out previously. Now, these guys might crucify me for saying this, but the FA Cup, the FA were late paying first round prize money last week.
yeah.
So
Good point.
so I had to make a loan to the club from the community share funds so they could pay the wages last week. The month before, I had to make a loan to the club so they could meet the October payroll, right? When I say we're effectively still a skint football club, I mean that. And we are not in a position now where we are saying, it's brilliant. We still get, Jason still needs sign off on any payment that goes out from us. And Jason selects those payments that go out on importance. And that's absolutely as it should be. So we're not sitting here and saying things are fantastic, and we don't have an overdraft because we do. John is right in saying we are managing it. And the thing is that to get to the end of the season is really the primary goal here, because budgets have been set, not by ourselves, but we're committed to meeting them, Chris. We've always said we will meet the responsibilities that we have inherited. And because of that, this season is going to be really difficult. And when I go on a message board and I say sign up to the rewards and benefits packages, because we're a skint football club, I mean it, mate. I'm not saying that because I want it to be,
but can we just
that we're comfortable, and I want it to be more comfortable.
Let's just clarify
a
point. When Simon talks about loans from the trust, that's money that we've raised as part of the shareholding.
It is,
okay?
yes.
So, that is using the money in the right way as we intended to do so. When we talk about that we're comfortable with things, we've got a handle on everything that previously never happened. And John's absolutely right in terms of the fact that, when we started to look at this initially, they were using this year's money to pay last year's debts.
Yeah.
Now, most football clubs do that to a certain extent. What we've said in our Football League submission is that we will do that on a reduced basis in terms of some of the things that we'll need to look at, because you don't get any revenue through the close season. So, we need to make sure we're able to do that. One of the things we're looking at doing, I think, at the end of season is almost looking at having a last home game, having some big fundraiser that, can actually try and see us through that difficult part of the season. So, there's lots of things that we're looking at, but Simon's absolutely right. And I think this club, to a certain extent, will always be in a difficult position for a variety of different reasons. And we need the fans to support us by going the club sharp, coming to the home games, etc. And as Simon said, the benefits and rewards package are really, really important. But what we are saying today is that we have a really good handle on things. We're using supporters' money in the right way from the share money that has been generated by putting it into the club so that we've got that working capital going, as we said we would do, which is why it needs to pay for the wages and other type things as well. And I think, for a period of time, that absolutely was the case.
It's a very fine line. Just a couple of hundred people extra into this ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will take us from, just help us manage our way through the season. And basically, there's some entertaining stuff to watch now. It wasn't 8-10 weeks ago. No. But now there is. And I think that anybody that turned up and watched Luton, or anybody that went to Oxford, or the match before, I think that they can see now there's a gradual improvement of the standard of play and what we're trying to achieve, and the goals we're scoring, and the hat trick, and and the John Lewis goal. I think it's something worth coming over here to watch now.
Yeah. So you basically say that if 1 in 5 of our fans manage to twist the arm of a family member, a friend, or a work colleague,
anything like that.
Wouldn't it be great now over Christmas if we could have two good gates on the 19th and the 28th?
We've got Plymouth, which we should have a good gate,
and even Wimbledon as well.
We'll be sat at home, fingers crossed, hoping
when
it's not raining.
We saw it here on Saturday. This room was packed Saturday. James had done a good job. Still, obviously, still wasn't a bad crowd with the Luton support, but if the weather had been good that day, I'm pretty sure we'd have been well over 3,000.
Yeah. Can I just add to that, because I think it's an important point, Chris? Is that my good lady bought me match ball sponsorship for the Yeovil game, and I came in and I thought, right, I'm going to be a punter today, and Foxhall took a chunk off me because I didn't have my my whistle and flute on. Right?
Rightly so.
He took a right chunk off.
In
of
fact, if I remember rightly, he was wearing that jumper then as well.
I was, yeah. Well, I'm having it removed next week. but the and I've been in at times I've visited hospitality as a punter, and I have noticed a change already in the things that we've discussed. Because hospitality is one of the first things we've given real focus, because it's an income stream. And I came here for the Oval game, and I've seen changes. I've seen really good, positive changes in hospitality. We have really worked to try and improve the experience, and I've seen that as a punter, and I think that the work that's happened there has been superb.
I mean, one of the things that you're right. I mean, and I have a table because I have a box, and I've seen the change as well in terms of that. And the one thing that we have done, and hopefully people who come in here can see as well, is that the board directors and the away directors are not hidden away in the chairman's box anymore. They're down here with the supporters. We made a conscious decision for that.
We asked for that
to happen. It wasn't awfully popular in all quarters, but we felt it was important to do as a supporters-owned club. So, we are trying to make those subtle changes that do show that we are a supporters-owned club. I think that sometimes is a surprise for some of the away directors when they come in here, but right. That's the way this club is now being run. I think it's important to do that as a fan-owned club.
Supporters club. That's right. They've got to get used to us being a supporters group. I think it's another point that I'd like to mention as well, that there's an awful lot of hard work, not only gone on with that slot, but also the other trust members, which, they work incredibly hard. They're not here tonight, but, Simon stepped up recently, which is great. So, they all appreciate, basically, we're putting our name to all this as a group now, but behind us, they are 100% behind us. And Lisa's always doing a load of work, and Colin and Phil,
membership.
The stuff they're doing on membership is just incredible, and they're working really hard, like Simon, to get it all sorted out, all volunteer stuff. And I think they're doing their utmost. And Gareth with the community stuff, he's still totally committed.
I look at the fan surveys that Lisa put the first one out the other week, and it's just something so simple, Chris. But when have we ever done something like that? Supporters is the lifeblood of any football club. But when has anybody in a senior position at Newport County AFC ever turned around and said, "Actually, guys, what do you think?"
I think we're going to look forward now to the supporters partnership meeting, which is another important meeting to us, and we really do want to sort of have some good feedback and communication with those guys, and just start pulling it all in as one now. I think.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Now that we've got a handle on things, we can start hopefully getting some direction from them, and they're raising money in their own little circles, and we can get them to actually get on board and take on a particular task. You know what I mean? And there's so much to do in this club, and hopefully with us all, we'll make it a bigger and a better club. And I think we might have the right management team, and certainly with Jason and Nick Igo, we really have got something that could come together quite nicely here and push us onwards and upwards.
As far as the support partnership is concerned, obviously a lot of people say, why is there such a need to have so many supporter groups? But then I feel as though each separate group plays a different but important role.
Yeah, they work tirelessly.
If you think about it though, Chris, it's not, is there? How many groups are we talking? 3?
No, there's more than that.
4 now with the DSA?
No, there's about 12. Different
but then
you're
talking programme teams.
But I think that's Chris's point. So, but actually, he's absolutely spot on, and we saw this through, the share run-up. They've all got something different to offer. They all come at it from a different dimension, and that's what makes it really good. And that's why we've asked David to do what he's going to do in terms of drawing that all together. 2 of us will be there. Jason will be there. As well, and as long as we get the right structure about it and the right output about it, and then if we've got actions we following through like any other normal business, then actually it'll start to run in the way that it is intended. I think it's a great group. We've got some great ideas around there, so I think it's the right thing to do.
There's no black hole anymore. I mean, because that was a big worry. A lot of supporters, the supporters partnership, they were worried about putting money into the club and it just disappearing. You know,
I think it's important as well. There's nothing to hide.
no, there's nothing. You know,
Well, I think the big thing. I think the big thing was the strategy to get the supporters groups behind us and engage with what we were trying to do from the off, because I don't think that, you know, we didn't exclude any group. You know, we communicated with you guys at every stage.
Yeah.
I mean, you came to the meetings at the riverfront. We didn't sugarcoat it. You know, all the heads are sat in the room, and we told it as it was.
Exactly.
Just like we said, we tell it as it was, all the way through. You know, all the way through every step that we've been through, even up to Friday, where we revealed the details of the previous management settlement. We've told it as it is all the way through, and we've engaged all supporters groups all the way through that journey as much as we've possibly been able to. And from my perspective, I don't think having several supporters groups is unhealthy, as long as they're working towards the same goal and there's no concentric circles.
As far as the communication side of things, I wanted to say to yourself, obviously, the way you've conducted yourself on the message board and getting the majority of them behind you. Because we can say there's some really difficult characters on that message board.
But Chris, I look at it. I look at it differently. The way I see it is that people are passionate, Chris. And the thing is that passion comes out in different people in different ways. And what I've tried to do on the message board is to try and harness their passion, whether it be positive or negative, and turn it to a positive. You know, because people are just... I mean, I've been reading it the last week or so. I don't know how much you guys read it. Don't read my blog, because I put your names in it sometimes.
We don't read your blog.
Right?
No.
And I've read the last couple of weeks, I've been picking up that the people have been having bets with each other over whether we would actually back up what we said we'd do about Butcher and the settlement. And people have taken money off others because we actually did what we said we'd do.
Could I have
And
some
people
of that
didn't think
then?
we'd have the stones to do it.
Could I
If
have
we could
some
have been
of
able
that?
to bet.
Given the grief I've taken over it, that'd be very helpful, actually.
But no, I mean, I don't see it as a negative, Chris. I just see it that people are passionate, they care, and sometimes that spills out in the wrong way. But from my perspective,
I mean,
when I integrate with these people, I just think, but it's passion.
But football is, I mean, the bottom line is, football and why it works is everybody has an opinion. And that's a great thing in terms of everybody having an opinion. We're never going to get it right all the time. That's quite clear. I mean, as you know, we issue a weekly communication out, and some people like it, some people don't, some people criticise it, some people don't. You're always going to get that, and you've just got to accept that. And the one thing is, if you come onto this board, you've got to accept that you will be criticised for various reasons. I mean, I think when you videoed this last time, somebody criticised my tie. I was thinking, well, that's not bad, actually. Tony's moustache has been criticised, which actually I wholeheartedly agree with, to be honest.
And I thought
you're always going to get...
November finished yesterday. I thought
It ain't going nowhere.
So
It ain't going nowhere.
you know, you're always going to get that, but it just goes with the territory of what we're doing. But Simon's right. The thing is, we're all passionate about the same thing. We might come at it from different directions, but we're all passionate about Newport County.
I think the word is so good so far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
I actually think we're enjoying it at the moment.
I wouldn't go that far, so.
Well, I don't know.
And on that note, I need to go and get something to eat.
Yeah.
Can I just make one final point on the moustache front? I think John is rivaling you pretty well at the moment.
Yeah. They both look like 70s movie stars, don't they?
Terry Thomas
What
and his
kind
love
of movie
child.
is that?
Those ones. Yeah.
But it is. There's no business like football. It's just a crazy business, and you know.
I think running a business, Tony's running while doing it. Gav's got a pretty intense. So Simon, you know, how we.
Gav do?
I don't know what it is.
I mean, when we're doing due diligence, Chris, I can't downplay this enough. I've still got a couple of accountancy exams to go.
Really?
And when
You know when you
when,
can't get
when,
a
I, when, I've done
accountant.
when I've done the final papers, you get a case study and you look at company X and company X is in a right state, you know, and you've got to suggest why they're in a state and how you get them out of it and blah, blah, blah. Newport County AFC, mate, when we were doing due diligence. You know, I mean, we got the first report from Nick Igo, and it was, and there was a lot of jargon in it, and there was 18 pages, and the first thing I thought was, geez, I get this stuff because it's my job. But I thought of the other guys, and I thought, I don't know how much of this they're going to get. So I condensed it to a 3-pager, which was, you know, which
And you
was a lot more
sugar-coated it.
friendly language.
Sugar-coated.
You think so?
Yeah,
I didn't think I did.
I do.
But
I'm only kidding.
I didn't read it.
I'm just hungry. We need to
yeah,
go.
and it really was. When we were doing due diligence, I thought this is like an exam scenario.
Can you carry this on with him?
That I, you know, that I do in these exams. It was just, it was, yeah, it was
I think
almost
if anybody's
upsetting.
got any questions, Chris, and you want, you know, I think we're quite willing to do this at any time. So
It might be good to do another one in a month's time or something.
Yeah, try and get a monthly thing. I mean, that's something you guys can feedback to us. You know, if you'd like to see this on a monthly basis, just add a comment, or people know how to contact me. People know how to contact these guys as well.
Yeah.
They know how to get me on the message
if
board.
you wanted
I
to
know.
do this last week, it would have been impossible. You just every night was booked.
Yeah.
But you know, this week.
Well, we said we'd do it on a monthly basis.
I think it
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, we do the report as well, you know.
Yeah.
But anybody that wants any information, we'll try and oblige. You know, obviously we've got to keep some stuff confidential. You know, a lot of the stuff, you know, people's careers are hanging on it. So you know, Jason, John, the players. So you know, what I mean, we've got to try and do.
No,
the-
I agree with that, and some things have to be confidential.
Yeah.
But we've proved that, you know, with what we've told you last week, we've told you that, you know, what some clubs would consider confidential, we don't.
No.
You know, and I thought last week was a bit of a game changer because I can't remember a football league or a Premier League club being that candid about, you know, the sort of termination settlement. I thought it was a bit of a game changer.
One for Michael Pillman. The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah,
I was waiting for the squirrel then.
you're going to be in his piece next
Right.
week now. You know,
I think we better call it this. So, Simon,
Thanks, Chris.
Gavin, thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Tony,
Brilliant, Chris. Thanks
John.
a lot.
Cheers, Chris.
and thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll be
Cheers,
back again
Glenn.
in a month for another one. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, Glenn. God, you look.